Greetings and salutations, Loud Talkers. I am the Renaissance man with Southern charm, Doriel Davis, and welcome to Say It Louder, the podcast, Season 2, Episode 203. I am thankful that you are tuned in as we navigate this space called life and the good, the bad, and the downright ugly things it can bring. But nonetheless, you are here for a purpose and a reason that is higher and more important than you know. Welcome. I invite you to follow my IG pages at The Doriel Soul and at Crescent Media Productions, LLC, where you will find more content and get notifications about new episodes and more. You can also follow me on Twitter at Dr. FD Davis. No matter what platform you have used to tune in and enter this class, I thank you, and I'm glad you're here. And hey, I want you to have some voice regarding the content that I cover. So what is it that you want to hear? Is there anything that you would like for me to discuss? Send me your thoughts. I want you to send an email to crescentmediaproductionsllc@gmail.com. That way you can send me a direct message about the content that you would like for me to research and for me to have a perspective on. So let me know. Now on today's episode, I'm giving honor to Queen Beyonce in celebrating her new album, Renaissance. And this is for all of you who are part of the Beehive. One of the songs that really, I think, caught my attention was Cozy. It has the line, comfortable in my skin, which references, pride, comfortability, self-acceptance, and self-love. But the question is, does the impact of social media, since we're living in this social media world, does it strip this power away for so many of our adolescents who are still trying to understand themselves as they evolve into who they are trying to become? I'm calling this episode Cozy Less, just a play off of words, because it's a thing. Media is very important, and the thing is, in all honesty, when the Queen Bee says something, folks listen. I talked about the definition of cozy, based on the lyrics of the song. It has to do with confidence and self-assuredness. So cozy less would be the antithesis of that. Who would have known 25 years ago that the social media platforms would have such an impact on our lives, starting with 6degrees.com in 1997. 3 social media sites later, MySpace was created in 2003, which often featured music, videos, and half-naked selfies. Hey, it was out there, and it was put out there for everybody to see. Then in 2005, Facebook arrived, which ushered in a host of other platforms coming in right behind it. There was a boom of adults who were getting profiles, reconnecting with old classmates and friends, making love connections, and building new friendships. But during that time, I also remember that there were age restrictions. Then somewhere along the way, the restrictions just ended, and things got very loose to where children at an alarming number are having these social media pages. Now, Loud Talkers, I have a guest in the building who we are going to get into this topic, this very important topic. So here to talk about this topic with me is my friend and also my soror of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Dr. Kenycia Byrd. Now, Dr. Byrd was born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida, where she attended undergrad at Florida A&M University, and she always talks about it. She's a proud FAMU graduate, I must say. When she was there, she played softball and earned a bachelor's degree in psychology. From there, she attended UMass Boston, where she was the assistant softball coach and earned her master's degree in mental health counseling. After completing this degree, Kenycia attended the University of Florida for her PhD in counselor education with a focus on mental health in adolescents. Her dissertation is titled The Relationship Between Media Influence and Ethnic Identity Development Among Low-Income African American and White Adolescent Girls. She has worked on mental health efforts for victims of Hurricane Katrina, presented at national counseling conferences on the effectiveness of Afrocentric theories used with people of color, and published an article on how to effectively counsel African American adolescents. Loud talkers, give a round of applause and a hey to Dr. Kenycia Byrd.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am so glad to be here and to jump right into this topic.
Yes.
I'm so ready for this.
Yes. I mean, this is definitely something that is very present in our society right now. Just the whole impact that social media has on people, but I really want to, and we may get to, adults, but I really want to talk about or focus on social media as it impacts young people. I'm thankful that you're here and that we can really, discuss this and hopefully guide people who have sons and daughters, nieces and nephews, even grandsons and granddaughters, so that they can help steer them in a direction where they are not falling into the hype of social media and that becoming their identity. All right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, just, starting off, do you think social media has more of a positive or more of a negative impact on children today?
Definitely negative.
Okay.
Definitely negative.
Why?
So if you want to think back to the 1950s and 60s, when our parents and our grandparents and, some brothers and sisters, when they were growing up, there was no social media platform.
Right.
So what did they have to look up to? They had to look up to Big Mama. They had to look up to Mommy and Daddy. They had to look up to their teachers in church, and that's basically all they had. And maybe friends and family, and that was it. So there was no other platform that told them what they should look like, what was popular, what was important to them, what was beautiful. There was no other platform for that. Yes, you'll see TV here and there where you had Soul Train and you had other, ethnic shows that were on TV, but they were all very positive. There was nothing that streamlined saying if you were this size or if you looked this way that you were considered beautiful. So now that you just talked about your MySpace, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, there's a Snapchat, did I miss something?
TikTok.
Yes, TikTok. How did I miss that one? I can't miss that.
Yeah.
Every single platform that you're looking at now, I actually dare you to go to these sites and find something that's not focused on how someone looks, their identity, what someone is supposed to look like in their specific ethnicity. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
They can't escape it.
Yeah.
It's on the radio now. You know what? They're even seeing it in the malls, in shopping malls. They're seeing all this long hair. They're seeing all these augmented bodies. And they're saying, oh my God, look at the men or look at the women. They're attracted to that. So that's what I need to look like. So where in the media is it positive? It's all negative. And so I feel like we, as parents, as brothers, as uncles, as sisters, we all need to come and bring these children up to teach them that this is not what's beauty. This is not what it is. And we need to go back to our roots. And that's basically it. We just need to go back to our roots.
So I think about influences, in media, just kind of stepping away for a moment from the social media platforms, because for a lot of people, social media can be that outlet where we're getting news. We're seeing, I think a lot of people are getting news from social media outlets more so than looking at television now. But I remember as a kid, before social media or pre-social media, seeing people who looked like me, right? Who were of a certain caliber. I saw different nuances of that. I can remember looking at The Cosby Show, for instance. Or I can remember looking at A Different World, and that's where I got a different side of what college should look like. Even though, my dad was, he worked at high school and college, and, I was always on campus, so I was aware of college, but it was one thing, to walk in the student union of the college that my dad worked, but it was another thing to see the pit on A Different World, and it was like, for me, it was ding, 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 this is really real, and it inspired me. Those shows inspired me. Like, I saw Family Matters. It was TGIF. It was family shows. But what is it that we're seeing today kids are looking at that is shaping their mindsets? I mean, are there things that they can look to in a positive way and say, yeah, that's what I want to do, or yeah, that's what I want to be?
There's actually not a lot of positivity, especially when it comes to the African American population. I think the only thing that we really saw might have been Blackish, that talked about some issues and, real life issues that were going on within our community.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you're seeing us in a light of, we're making stripping, prostitution,
drug dealing.
We're making that the elaborate scheme of life of that's what you need to do to get money, to get these cars, to get these jobs. Or, I like to say modern day slavery is an NFL football team to me. Because you have your white owners, for the most part, you're going to have your white owners, and then you're going to have them controlling what your players are doing, which are predominantly African American. So it's like they want to come and be these football players and this, that, and the third, and that's all they see is this glamorized modern day slavery when it comes to being an athlete. Or you're going to see all these drug dealers and so forth on TV, and that's not what we want to teach them.
Yeah.
So the way that we need to combat that a little bit is to be more present at home.
Okay.
And I think what we have done, which I've seen with a lot of families now, is that no one sits down at a table anymore.
This is
Remember,
true.
we used to sit down at a table. We used to talk about our day and say, this is what happened today in school, this, that, and the third. And to be honest with you, that's how my parents found out some things that were going on with my teachers.
Yeah.
Who I had that were white teachers, and what they were saying to me and what they were doing. That's how my parents found out. It's like we're going away from that family aspect. We're telling our kids, oh, you can go in the room, and we're letting the TV and media teach them and not us anymore.
Right.
So they're eating their dinner in there. They're playing in their rooms. They're stuck to these video games. Grand Theft Auto, there you go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's so many different media platforms right now that are actually teaching our kids versus us doing it because we're too busy. We're working too many jobs. We don't have that big mama to take care of the kids anymore. We don't have that, and it's almost like, where do we find that?
Yeah. So we recognize that media is a powerful tool. How do you think it has shaped or continues to shape the minds of young people?
Just piggybacking on what we've talked about so far, it's training them. It's training them from the moment a cartoon comes on TV. How many cartoons do you know right now that were the Popeyes? Yeah. That taught you to eat your spinach and to be a good, to be nice and strong. He-Man, Captain Planet.
Yeah.
We don't have those anymore. The cartoons that we have negative.
They're sexually explicit.
Exactly. But then the question is, who's controlling that?
Yeah.
For the media.
Yeah.
Because there were regulations to TV, radio. There was no cursing. There was no, nudity or anything like that on TV. You could find it in a movie.
Yeah.
But it was already out there like, hey, just be ready for this nudity scene or something like that. But in TV now, you see it. You see sex scenes that are so graphic for television.
Yeah.
And they're not on at like 9, 10, 11 o'clock. They're on at 7 or 8. They're in prime time.
Yeah.
So these are when children can go in their room, watch all of this. But back to your point, they're starting at a young age watching these specific cartoons. It's growing. It's getting worse. And then now we have to look at who is over the censorship of what is to be shown on TV. Or who is over what can be shown or what can be censored on the radio. Because that's really who's controlling, like puppets, are children.
Yeah. And if in fact there are children who see these types of things, is there something or someone to counteract what it is that they've seen?
That's the problem.
Because I would dare to say that in most cultures there is that parental guidance button that they hit, where there are certain things that their kids cannot look on tablets and things like that. But then there are some kids who have this free for all where they're looking at all this stuff, but then there isn't a conversation about what it is that they've watched, and then the line is drawn that you can't watch that. I mean, I come from an area where it was turn your head when somebody was kissing too hard.
Exactly. Exactly.
But not anymore. And so, do you think that it's, so getting back to like social media, do you think that the influence is different, or the impact is different, or messaging is different for girls rather than boys? Do you think that there's a difference?
I think there's a difference when it comes to how it impacts them. So my research was based on girls, but I did do a little research on young African American boys.
Okay.
And so they more internalize it, and that goes straight into African American men as well. They're just going to internalize it, take it with them, and then at some point, hopefully it doesn't come out in a bad way, right? But with girls, and it's different across races, let me tell you that too. So it's different across races because in my research, I found that with white low-income adolescent girls, their issues were more so eating disorders, cutting, that type of stuff. But with African American girls, it was more so like self-esteem issues, wanting to be a little bit more provocative and so forth. So to combat that, with my research, it found that if there is a mother and a father in a home, so that's one problem right there that we have in our own community, right? So if there's a mother and a father both in the same home, and they are focused on religion and keeping a close contact with like just religious views, and that actually helps to combat the media influences and what they see outside. Because they kind of took that as like, oh, my religion tells me this is how beauty is supposed to look. It looks like me, right? So they kind of took that internally. But when it came to the white adolescent families, they don't have that stronghold of religion that is able to combat those eating disorders. So between males and females, it's completely different on how the media affects them. But definitely I would like to learn more about the boys and how they internalize it as adults. And I think that's something very interesting to look into too as well.
So I would dare to say that social media a lot of times, and I agree with you, does promote a provocative vibrato, for young women, that it sexualizes women. I would say that social media, for men, it's the hardness, it's the gangster, it's the drug dealing, it's the
fast money.
Yeah, it's the fast money. It's the breaking off multiple women. It's the womanizing.
Yes.
It's it's those things. It's tearing down anybody to get what it is that you want. That's what I see most times. I even look at the comments. A lot of times, in certain with like, I'll look at the Shade Room or even CNN, and I'll look at the comments, and I kind of think in a morality type of space a lot of times, in terms of like loving and respecting human beings, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, just the theme of respect, right? And respecting differences. But folks really come out the woodwork with negativity in the comments. And just like if there's a person who posts a picture and they don't fit the mold of what society says is beautiful, then they would tear that person down just in the comments. And how that really strips away or erodes at a person's self-esteem. You know, it's sad.
It's sad.
A lot of times, social media is used as a platform of negativity. It really tears people apart.
And I'm all about stripping away filters and stripping away airbrushing. Strip that away, and then you'll really see who people really are.
Yeah.
Versus what the media wants you to see them as.
But then you get into the whole thing of the surgeries. Right?
That's true.
Because stripping away that, folks still want to look appealing based off of these standards instead of being cozy, comfortable in their own skin and the skin that they were given, right? And I'm not talking about, you know, not being healthy or anything like that. I'm talking about being your authentic self and not being a carbon copy of somebody else. And really grounding yourself in that.
Yeah. There was a girl recently on Instagram. She spent over $60,000 to change her face and body to look like Kim Kardashian.
Wow.
Over $60,000. I think it was over 15 surgeries she did to her body just because of that. So going back to, you know, what media really does, then it's like, who is defining what beauty is? So where does that start?
Well, I mean, it's very Eurocentric.
Very.
It's extremely Eurocentric. And just think about a child who is from a marginalized minority group who's 12, who's looking at TikTok, who's looking at Instagram, and they're seeing all of these people who are deemed beautiful and they don't look like this and how it affects them. I mean, because according to the U.S. Sun, a survey for the CBBC of 1,200 people ages 10 to 18 found that 96% were signed up for social media networks. And 78% of those interviewed under 13 had joined at least one social media network, despite not being old enough to have one. So it's ingrained in them at an early age, and then they become big people. And then they become big people who become mothers and fathers of little people, and becoming a whole cycle.
Well, it even goes all the way back to, I believe it was don't quote me, it was the 1950s or 60s. There was a doll study done.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, just in case...
Thurgood Marshall was a part of that one,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Just in case no one knows about the doll study, there was a doll study done where it had, I believe, 5 or 6 colors, different shades, from very, very pale white to very, very chocolate. And they put these pictures in front of young white and black students. I think they were kindergarten, first, second grade. And they were asked questions of, what's beautiful? Show me the beautiful one. Of course, all the white people picked the lighter tones. But the sad thing is, all the black kids picked the lighter tone of what is beautiful. They didn't even see themselves in those colors as being beautiful.
Right.
And then another question that was very poignant in that was, the interviewer said, which one is the good kid, which one is the bad kid? Every time, every child, when it said the bad kid, they always went to the darkest complected person, versus what's the good kid would always be the lightest complexion. So these kids are learning this at kindergarten, first and second grade. So again, it's what's going on at home to combat what they're seeing in the media, what they're seeing outside. Because if they're starting this in kindergarten, first and second, like you said, they're going to be middle schoolers, they're going to be high schoolers, and this hasn't been fixed or addressed.
And here's another layer to that. So I just saw something today. I think I was looking at Instagram, and there was reportedly a study where kindergarten teachers were asked to look at a video and there were 4 kids sitting at a table. They were asked to look at a video, and they were asked to identify the number of misbehaviors that a kid would, display. And really, it was a study to see like what kid they would pay most attention to. So it was really paying attention to their eyes. There was a black boy. There was a white girl. I think there may have been a Hispanic, an Asian child. There may have been 2 white kids. But their eyes went to the black kid. Every time, the black little boy. And the black little boy never did anything wrong. But both white teachers as well as black teachers, their eyes went to the black boy more times than any other child.
They were expecting.
Right? So it's still happening in our schools. It's still happening with our teachers. And it's education in terms of academics, right? But it's also education in terms of belonging and identity. That's a bias.
Yeah. And it's so crazy because that doll study they redid the doll study in the 1990s.
Oh, well, yeah.
And the same results came out. So you're, 40, 50 years later thinking you're going to have a better outcome because we've grown as a people, as a culture, as a country. No, we're still in the same spot we were before.
But we're also seeing like an influx of pictures, from different celebrities. Oftentimes black women feel slighted by men who are celebrities because they are not really checking for them, but they're looking for someone who's not black, someone with the long, straight hair, or, someone who's fair complected, who maybe have some type of, I'm not saying that they're Caucasian, but they are in some way some type of ethnic, like island, like but not African American,
right.
And it's like it's perpetuating the narrative, and I think it adds on to the self-hate, and it's teaching our girls, or making our girls believe that in order to compete, that they have to give of themselves. So much of them sacrifice themselves that they have to go out and buy the hair to be beautiful.
Which, keep in mind, is a multi-billion-dollar business every year.
Which is majority owned by non-African descent individuals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, there's that. And, what are some of the dangers that children can face, whether, internally or externally, from social media? I know we talked about, the self-esteem or the lack of self-esteem. We talked about, the sacrifice of self and of body, and the provocative nature that is adopted, but also bullying.
And I was going to add, when it comes to mental health, suicide.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids that feel like they don't live up to what's beautiful or what's pretty, so they feel like they don't even belong, so they don't need to be here anymore. And again, those are things we need to catch and combat way before it even gets to that point. And I believe there was recently, what university was she at? She was at HBCU. She was a cheerleader.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful cheerleader. She had a lot of mental health issues because of what she had internally. And, you know, those are things that we need to catch. Because that beautiful soul was gone way too soon.
Yeah.
Also, you know, if you look at externally, then you'll have kids that grow up and they're like 17 or 18 and they're taking trips to Miami or Cuba to get butt lifts done or to, you know, saving money for new breasts or getting injections in their lips and their face just to prolong the beauty that they have as a kid, but it's already there and they don't need it.
Right.
They don't need it. And so externally and internally, it's a lot going on.
Some sites are very dangerous for young children, and it makes them susceptible to bullying, inappropriate content, and even grooming. Mm-hmm. And, you know, 1,300 out of 1,800 children stated that they reportedly saw pornography, they saw self-harm, bullying, and hatred. And this is what our kids are eating. Mm-hmm. This is what their minds are eating. Yeah. So,
and they're sponges right now.
Right, and what you eat, you become.
Yes.
You know, there are these restrictions that start at 13. But there are kids who are younger than 13 that have these pages. They have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and they have TikTok. You know, but they're still not mature enough to handle it. And I would argue even, you know, 13 is still too young. 13 is still too young.
Because their minds are still growing.
Exactly. And I get that they're, you know, when they're in high school, you know, they're a bit more mature, but still that's a catch-22 as well. I mean, because I've had to deal with so many situations just in the last week of kids who are taking pictures of one another and they're posting stuff on Instagram and making these fake pages and targeting a person, and you know, and the nudes. They are actually doing this. I'm like, are you serious?
The moment you take it and you post it, it is there forever.
But then I call it mamas and their daddies. You know, when I find out, I say this is what happened, because they need to know your child is doing this. Yeah, I mean, like, where are you? Where are you? Your child needs you. Where are you?
They're working. They're too busy. They're tired. That's just where they are.
Well, they
which
shouldn't
is
have
not
been.
An excuse.
Well, they shouldn't have been screwing.
Exactly. What exactly?
If you so tired, you shouldn't have been screwing. And you, I mean.
Yeah. I know.
Because this is a little person who's being affected by this, who's being tarnished. Or if I am a guy and I don't have that guidance, then I'm going to get that guidance from somewhere, and it's going to be from someone who doesn't give a flying flip about me.
Right. Exactly.
You know, who's going to put me out on the block. You know, who's going to tell me that this is how you treat a woman, which is mistreating a woman, or who's going to see you as different, and who's going to, you know, belittle you and make you hate yourself because you are different, or because you love someone who's different from the person who folks say that you should love, or whatever.
Exactly.
You know? And it's because that first love is not in place. That first love of a mother and a father, they're not in place.
It's not in place. And I know it sounds so contradictory, but when, you know, back in the day, our grandmas and our grandfathers would say, you know, when we got together, we stayed together. You know, we don't care if, you know, grandma was doing this or grandfather was doing that, Rolling Stones or whatever. They still stayed together for the family.
Oh, you know, I'm believing all that now. I don't believe in all that, because my thing is, it's one thing. It's one thing to be a placeholder. It's one thing to be a placeholder.
That's very true.
You know, because the thing is, if y'all are together just for the sake of being together and y'all jokers are not happy, that means that you are still impacting other people who are around you, your kids who are around you, because the thing is, kids are smart. Mm-hmm. They can feel it.
Yeah.
You know, we as human beings, we feel vibration. Mm-hmm. So you don't feel that hate radiating off of somebody. Mm-hmm. Or you don't feel the love radiating off of somebody. You can feel that.
Yeah, you can feel that.
So yeah, Mama and Pawpaw stayed together. Mm-hmm. But it's all kind of outside kids in the family, which has definitely impacted somebody in that line.
That's true. That's true. I guess I was trying to, just say that, I guess I was thinking of, my own family, but just thinking of
mine did too.
Just like, though granddaddy may have done this or grandmama or whatever may have done this or done that, when they came back to the house, granddaddy was like, children, this is what you're supposed to do. Teaching still, even though it may not have been what he may not have been practicing what he was preaching.
Yes, indeed.
But granddaddy came back to the house and said, no, this is what you do. I'm gonna raise you right. Same thing with grandma. So I understand what you're saying, because no, that's not right either. Because kids can feel that vibration. But, just, I guess in my case, when it came back to the house, it was, I'm going to make sure my family is raised right. Period. Even though I know I'm not doing the right thing at all times. Mm-hmm.
So, as a way of kind of wrapping up, what is it that parents need to do for their kids to be a barrier from all these other things, whether it's the bullying, the self-hate, the provocative mindset, the reaching for love that's not really love? What is it that parents, what is it that adults, need to do for those kids?
So I feel like it's 3 things for me. Mm-hmm. And you may have 3 different ones. For me, it's communication. So if you don't talk to your child, you're not going to know what's going on. I feel like there needs to be an open line of communication where your child feels comfortable talking to you. Not your best friend, but comfortable enough talking to you and letting you know kind of what's going on or how they're feeling. So that kind of taps into their mental health for me. The second one would be time. You got to spend time with your kids. The more time you spend with them, the less time they have to be taught by the TV, video games, and so forth. And the last thing I would say is just to love them. You got to show them the love that they know they deserve, so that they don't have to go out trying to find it from somewhere else.
I'm gonna add a 4th one in there.
Okay.
Get in their business.
Yes. All in their business.
Get in their business.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because the thing, there are all sorts of ways to kind of hide stuff now. But if you are present and you are listening, I mean, I find out about stuff because my ears, perk up when there's a conversation that's going on. When kids get close and they stop, my ears perk up.
Yeah.
And I move very stealthily. So, and then I come around the corner. What happened? What you say?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I heard you say such and such, such and such. Let me call your mama. Let me call you. Yeah, I'm that dude. I tell them that I'm a certified snitch.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm going to find out the business and I'm going to tell it.
I'm a certified snitch.
I'm a certified snitch. I'm going to tell it.
I love it.
I'm going to tell it. And so stay in their business. Mm-hmm. Get in their business. Getting them out of that phone. Finding out, having settings where you're able to check the phone. Mm-hmm. Talking to them, and if something is not sounding right, you're like, wait a minute, or if a kid comes home and they're not acting normal, there's something that's off, you're able to pick up on that because there's relationship, you're in their business. That's how you combat that. Yeah. But I mean, if you tired and trying to use that as an excuse, or you out here trying to be a bad bitch, and trying to be a hustler, and you're not taking care of your responsibilities, which they are your first priority. Right. When you bring children in this world, right. You become second.
Right. Mm-hmm. They don't want to give that up. So then, like you said,
that's selfish as F. I'm just gonna say it. So this is what needs to be done, and I 100% agree with that. Well, Dr. Byrd, Kenycia, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it has been a wonderful, wonderful discussion. And yeah, you're gonna come back. Because we have all kinds of great conversations, and I think that the types of conversations that we have and the things that we uncover, it will definitely help people.
Of course, I'm here for it.
So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
All right, loud talkers, give it up for Kenycia Byrd, Dr. Kenycia Byrd. So thank you for tuning into another episode of Say It Louder, the podcast. This podcast is located on many platforms for your listening pleasure. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and on Spotify. Be sure to listen to other episodes and please subscribe and share with friends and loved ones. Heck, share it with the people you don't like. That way they can get better too. We're all just trying to get better. Don't forget to share some of your ideas with me by sending an email to crescentmediaproductionsllc@gmail.com. Until next time, especially in these times of COVID-19 and Lord have mercy, monkeypox. And I hear that there's another. Come on. Listen, I'm not trying to live in revelations, okay? I'm not trying to, come on, let's get this together, y'all. So stay safe. Mask up. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth when you cough. Take care of yourself. And do your best to take care of others. Be good to one another. And if you can't be good to someone else, you being silent and out of the way is good enough. All right? Y'all take care and be blessed.